All right, so trauma and money. All right, so people often think that money is arithmetic. And the arithmetic says that if you make this amount of money and this is the number, the total of your bills, then you should have this amount of money left over, right, after your check, right? It's so adorable. So, it doesn't hardly ever work that way. In fact, I don't think it ever works that way. Well, the thing about money is that it's an energy. And it's tied up with worth and value and whether or not you can have things. So if you have a trauma in your life around taking up space, taking up time, taking up money, taking up resources, and then on top of that you put taking care of the world and watching out for the world resources and caring about water and recycling, which is a wounding that fits on perfectly on top of your wounding. And it's all about lack and it's all about stress. And you just, as I'm talking, you can feel the heat and the grit that comes up with this. So then it doesn't really matter how many zeros you have. You could have 6 figures. If you have this energy, this gritty, not enough, lack, and if I have, then it's at somebody else's expense. If you have that kind of energy around money, then no matter how much comes in, you're going to have windburn because that's how much is going to go back out. And it won't make arithmetic sense, but you'll watch it over and over again, as many of us have. Because money is really about how much lusciousness can you stand. And if you have had a diet of stress and lack and punishment, and if you have had your sense of self bastardized into the thing that got you in trouble, and the thing that is going to cost you, and the thing that is going to cause you a lot of pain, then how you are about receiving anything in life is going to be disturbed and bastardized. So when you're living in that space, you can follow all the right instructions, you can jump all the right hoops, but until you change this experience of life that you have predicted you will always have, based on experience. There's nothing wrong with how you've done things. You made conclusions, decisions, assumptions based on the reality of a moment. And then you like hardwired them, like I'm gonna remember this forever, as a way to try to protect yourself from them. But really all that does is it infuses everything in your life with it. And then anything that happens outside of those parameters, you can't even see it. And if you do see it, it's distorted. Because the only truth you have allowed for yourself, out of a genius to survive a moment, is that this is the only thing that's real. But when you take that conclusion of a moment and apply it to every day of your life, these are the bars of your prison. And then, again, it doesn't matter how much money you have or don't have. This is the energy signature of life in this body that you can tolerate. Because as disappointing as it might be, at least it's safe. So, if you're never safe as you or being you, you could be on the Caribbean having dinner with, George and Amal, and you're going to be miserable. So changing that circuitry inside, changing that wiring underneath reason. All of this is, peptides are smart. Who knew? But they are. And they have a vibration, and they have a signature, and they are constantly doing their job of creating the environment that you have pre-ordered. And so when something happens outside of that experience, it's disturbing and it has to be changed because it has to come back to normal. Migrating normal is much more effective and what's the hot word these days? Sustainable than a big change. It's a big change, if you even recognize it, you'll destroy it because it's out of congruence. If you migrate your normal, if you're participating in your thoughts and your choices and you're seeing what's coming out of your mouth and what you're saying to yourself, as you're participating in your life, in your life, you're migrating what could possibly happen for you. And you're building your muscle and your capacity so that you can move out of living in a war zone to living in a luscious world, wherever you are. And you could be, on the mean streets of Beirut, or you could be on some luscious New York Avenue. If you're in hell, those places are going to be hell. But when you are connected and in allowance, and cooperating with the universe and co-creating past your survivalist dreams, you're rich and luscious anyway.